Okay, so our first storyteller. Let's give a warm welcome to Josiah Hall.
Dang. All right, hey, relax, okay. All right, I really didn't want to go first, but I'm gonna do it for the extra credit. All right, last summer, about the same time this year during basketball season, me, my friend Connor, and my friend Abdi, they were both teammates. One day we didn't have practice that day, so we decided to go to Montevilla, hoop it up real quick, get a little exercise. And then, we was running 3-on-3, and then this big dude, I can't say his name because that's kind of federal, but I'm gonna call him Jimbo, all right? So this big dude named Jimbo, he's a bully, and I've never been bullied in my life, I've always been that tough dude. And so he comes up all big and stuff, and this dude is like 6'2", 300 pounds, And like, okay, I'm not gonna call him fat because that's kind of disrespectful, but I'm gonna call him fluffy, all right? So Jimbo, the fluffy bully, he comes up, he's like, hey, what y'all doing? And then he takes our ball. And me, I'm not no punk, so I was like, hey, give us our ball back. And then, all right, so I was like, hey, give us our ball back, trying to sound tough. He was like, what'd you say? And mind you, last year, I was like 5'5", a cool 115, at the most on a good day. And so I try to be tough. I was like, give us our ball back again, with a little tone in my voice. And then he takes the ball and throws it and licks me up and down. And then Abdi and Connor, they look at me like for help because, they scared, I'm scared. And so, I try to be tough. So I get in his face and he pushes me, And so he's like 300 pounds. So when he pushes me, I fly like, a cool 7 feet. And so, I get up, I'm cool. And then I square up with him. I thought I was Mayweather or something. I squared up with him. He squared up, and then I hit him. And when I hit him, I thought he was going or something. And I kid you not, he jiggled like it was a jiggle, So I felt pretty helpless. I looked back for help, and they over there sitting on the bench just watching me. So I'm like, all right, man. And so he retaliates, okay? And I wasn't prepared for this. So he swung, and I was quick back then, so I hit him with a, just something like for the fans. And so after that swing, I got a little hype, So I was like, hit him with a, and he didn't budge, He just jiggled again. And so he ran up to me and like got me in like a headlock and hit me in my head, and my head started ringing. And so, after that, I was pretty helpless, and I was like telling people to help me, because, I had my few minutes of fame. And then my big cousin Sammy, he's like 220 pounds. He comes out of nowhere and saves the day. He punches the dude, and I kid you not, he stumbled a cool 5 feet. He was like that. And so after that, I had a little street cred, and I was chilling. And Jimbo the bully, he never messed with me again. Thank you.
Thanks, Josiah. So judges are making a couple of notes really quickly, and they're going to hand those over to the math genius. One way to tell a story about trouble, which is our theme for the day. And our next storyteller
is Georgia Rector.
Okay, so back in 8th grade, me and 20 of my teachers and 2 of our classmates, 20 of our classmates, 2 of our teachers, went on this trip to a bunch of places on the East Coast. We went to Washington, D.C., and Gettysburg and Charlottesville. It was one of the best trips I've ever taken in my life. But one of our stops in Washington was the National Archives museum, and that's where they have the original Constitution and Declaration of Independence, and it's cool like that. So it was probably our second or third day, and we go through security, and it opens up into this huge rotunda with this gorgeous marble floors and these intricate wall designs, and on the opposite side of the room is the documents in these glass cases. So there were people already there, because it was like 1 or 2 in the afternoon, and we all go up to them and look at the documents, and they're pretty cool. You can't read them because they're so old, but something else in the room catches my attention, and it's these 2 murals high up on the walls that are of the founding fathers doing their like little poses or something. And being the person, I really love art, and I wanted to know who was who in the documents or in the murals. I couldn't look them up because we weren't allowed to bring our phones on the trip. And under the left mural, I noticed this thing on the ground in front of it, and it looks like a music stand, but it's made out of brass. And as I start to walk up to it, I see that on it is engraved who's who in the mural, so you can find out. And yeah, I walk up to it, but it's turned away from me, and there's a person standing on the other side of it, but they're not looking at it, they're doing something else. So naturally, I think that I can just turn it toward me and look at it and be like, that's George Washington, and it's gonna be perfect. And I reach forward, and I turn it, and it turns a little, but then it the top just falls on the floor and makes the loudest clang noise you could ever imagine, and the whole room is silent. And everybody is looking at me. And I'm just standing there like this. I have no idea what to do. After only a couple seconds, I see about 20 or 30 feet in front of me, one of the security guards starts walking toward me, and the only thing you can hear in the whole room are his shoes clacking on the floor. And he walks up to me, he's about a couple feet away, and just stares at me, stands there, doesn't say a word, and I'm just petrified at this point. But he wasn't that intimidating physically, but his hands were really like close to his gun, so I was pretty scared. And I don't know, he thought I was gonna steal the Constitution or something, I don't know. So I look at him for a second, and then I unfreeze, and I bend down, and I pick it up, set it back down on the pole, I twist it again to make sure it doesn't fall off again, which it doesn't, thank God. And I take a little step back and just look at him and go, sorry. And I turn around and I just start walking away. I didn't even know where I was gonna walk to. I just wanted to get away from that guard. I end up coming and standing next to one of our teachers, Mr. Crone, and I look at him, and every single negative emotion you could imagine was on his face. Just shame, disappointment, everything was just, And he looks back up at the crowd, who at that point, they're now back to their daily activities, and he looks at them and says in his loud voice, Roseway, let's go. And we left immediately after that and never went back.
Thank you, Georgia. Judges, make some notes, hand them over to the math genius, and then audience, please give a warm clap up for Jason Anajovic.
Yep, that's too tall. All right, so in my experience, 7th graders make absolutely terrible life choices. Because when I was in 7th grade, I had 2 friends. Their names were Luna and Izzy, and they would come over to my house quite a bit, and the 3 of us would mess around doing our usual 7th grade stuff. We would talk about boys and magazines, even though none of us read magazines. And somehow, one day, we got on the conversation of none of us had ever used a Ouija board before. And because none of us had done that, we didn't have any family who happened to have a Ouija board, otherwise we would have used it before. So we're like, what if we just make our own? So we get a piece of cardboard and some duct tape and some markers, and we have to look up pictures of Ouija boards on our phone to see what it's like. And so we make a Ouija board, and it's pretty messy. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty bad. And we duct tape it to a piece of plastic so that it stays down, and we set it in the middle of my basement. And we get a hair tie. And the three of us crowd around the little tiny Ouija board, and we each only have room for like 2 of our fingers to fit on the hair tie, and we're shoulder to shoulder, and we're really uncomfortable, but we're excited to do this. So we take the hair tie, and we go around a couple times, and we're like looking up what you're supposed to do with the Ouija board on our phones, because we don't know. And so we're going around, we're like, hello? Are there spirits here? Don't devour our souls? And so we're going kind of slowly, and finally we're like, okay, is there anything here? And we sit in silence for a minute, and we're like, shoot, this isn't gonna work. And slowly, the hair tie starts shifting its way towards the word yes, and we freak out. We're like, oh my God, there's a ghost here. And I personally don't usually believe in that sort of thing, but I started to get a bad feeling. I was like, oh gosh, there's a ghost here. So we start asking some pretty stupid questions like, oh, what's our name? How old are we? Are we ever gonna get married? And we're like, these are pretty stupid questions to ask like a 2,000-year-old phantom, but we were 7th graders. And so finally, 10, 20, 30 minutes go by, and I'm like, guys, this has to stop. I've got a really bad feeling. And they're like, fine, you're such a killjoy. And so we go around like 16 times with the hair tie around the board because we want to make sure nothing comes out, and we put it over the word goodbye, and we take our hands off, and we're just sort of frozen there for a minute because we don't know what's coming next. And nothing happens, so the 2 of them go off to use the bathroom because we were just sitting in the basement for half an hour and our legs are cramped up. And my house is about 100 years old, and because of that, the floor creaks a lot, and I can hear it from anywhere in the house. So they go upstairs, and I hear the usual creaking of the floor, but then I'm left alone in the basement, and I start to get in my own mind, and I'm like freaking out, so I start grabbing some blankets and wrapping them around myself because I'm like, obviously ghosts can't get through blankets. What can? And I've got pillows, and I'm sort of fortifying myself in the corner of the basement, ready for what comes next. And for some reason, we didn't decide to turn a light on, so I'm sitting in the dark, and my breathing is getting shallow, and I'm not thinking straight, and I'm like, oh God, something's gonna come for me. Something's gonna, rip me to shreds like a horror movie, even though I'd never seen a horror movie in my life. And so finally, I start hearing the creaking up on the floor above me, and I'm like, oh, it's my friends, they're coming back, they're okay, I'm gonna be fine. And I hear the creaking come close to the door, and the steps are very deliberate and slow, and I'm like, yeah, it's my friends, they're going slow, because it's late, they don't want to wake anybody up. And then the noises stop at the top of the stairs, and I don't hear the doorknob. I don't hear anyone coming downstairs. And the silence settles in again, and the darkness gets darker, and I'm like, oh God, something got them, something's coming for me, I don't know what to do. And out of the darkness comes this pair of hands and a loud screech, and I flip out. I start strangling whatever's touching me with blankets. I'm throwing pillows at them. I'm tearing the basement apart. I'm screaming, I'm crying, crying like a little kid. I am bawling my eyes out. I am terrified. And Izzy is on the floor laughing like a maniac. She can't breathe. She's got tears coming out of her eyes. And Luna comes down and she sees the basement a wreck. And I'm like, guys, never scare me again.
Okay, thanks, Jason, for scaring me out of my basement ever. While the judges are moving stuff around, let's clap up our next storyteller, Stella Hassan.
Okay, so I was this tall when I was told I was ugly and fat, which I found very funny because the girl who said this to me wasn't even skinny. She was big, in fact, bigger than me. She walked the halls like some sort of queen, feeling power because of the fear she installed in others. She reeked of sweat and tried to hide it with perfume, but that isn't really a good mix. She was my worst enemy. It was the year 2012 when I was sick and tired of being put down and degraded by a girl who wasn't even better than me. I went home on a Thursday night after school and told my mother how I was feeling. And I thought she was gonna say something like, forget about it, ignore her. But instead, she raged with anger. A side I barely see from my mother came out. The next words that came out of her mouth was nothing near to what I expected to hear. Beat her ass, she said, beat her ass, but only if she puts her hands on you first. My eyes bulged with excitement and shock. I couldn't believe what my mother was saying. I was never a violent person, neither was she, well, unless she was giving me a whooping. The next day, I went to school, and I was so excited because I was gonna fight my bully, as I looked for her everywhere. Finally, the bell rang, and it was recess time. Surprisingly, she wasn't bothering me, but I didn't care. I wasn't gonna let that stop me. So I thought long and hard, and it was like something clicked. A light bulb shined over my head. In 5th grade, we would always play with these jump ropes. Sometimes we would get in groups and play double dutch. So I walked over and grabbed a jump rope because I overheard her saying she wanted one. So I then purposely walked in front of her and dropped it. She immediately picked it up. Hey, that's mine, I said, turning around. No, you dropped it, I picked it up, so now it's mine. Don't start, Stella, you don't want me embarrassing you in front of everybody, she said. I'm not scared of you, but really, I was sweating and my hands were shaking. She slowly walked towards me and pushed me back. I could hear everyone in the crowd's oohs and ahs, and even someone saying, that's right, Kimani, show her who's boss. Before I could even realize it, I could feel my hand rising and coming into contact with her face. Everyone, including myself, gasped. This was it. It was happening. My adrenaline pumped as we continued to fight, throwing punches and slaps. I was so shocked. I was fighting my bully. We kept going until she gave up. The person I was afraid of for so many years gave up because I was winning the fight. After a while, our teacher came and tore us apart and took us to the office, but I wasn't scared. I didn't care because, my mom wasn't gonna get mad, or so I thought. The school day was officially over and it was time to go home. I was so excited to tell my mother what happened, but the minute I walked into my house, I could see the wooden stick sitting on the table and I already knew what was to come. Mom, please don't. Before I could even finish my sentence, she got up so quick and already hit me. Why you do like that? Are you crazy? She yelled. She hit me again and I tried to dodge it, but my mother never misses. Mom, I'm sorry, please. I thought you said it was okay. She hit me a few more times before she told me to sit down. Listen, I know I said it was okay, but I wanted to put you in that position so you could realize that violence wasn't going to solve this. Well, shit, Ma, I already beat her ass and got suspended. What am I supposed to do now? But, I was just thinking this, because if I said it, I would have got another ass whooping, and I didn't want that. I wanted you to be in that position so you could realize that violence wasn't the answer, but you not being the victim to her crimes, and you being the hero for yourself and standing up to her.
The music makes me feel like I have to run. Thank you, Stella. It makes me want to quote Gandhi and say, an eye for an eye makes the whole world go blind. Please give a warm welcome up to the stage, Ben Kirchhoffer Talbot.
All right, so I'd like to start this story by saying I was never a bad kid. I was actually kind of like a model kid, almost. I was, funny. I was sweet. I was attractive. I mean, you can't really say that about like an 8-year-old here. I was 8 at this time, but I was. So let's fast forward a little bit to my like pre-K years. And there was this one girl, Angela, and I remember her very well. She had brown hair and brown eyes. And I knew I was in love with her at pre-K. So, you know, this romance was like brewing in my head, and I was like pretty convinced that we were actually like going out because it had been so long in my head. And so, you know, the relationship was going strong. We were having, you know, daily conversations in here. And, you know, time went by, the relationship only got stronger until this one guy, or Cole was his name, this like scrawny, blonde-haired dude. Like he probably couldn't lift like 2 pounds, and he caused me so much trouble. So Cole, he's like the, I don't, if you have one, I'm not like calling you out, but he's one of those guys who has like those, I don't know, short sleeve hoodies. You know what I'm talking about? Like they don't make sense. You know, are you like trying to stay warm? Are you trying to, what's your goal here? So he was that kind of guy, and he was starting to talk to Angela, my girlfriend. And so, you know, I saw them across the playground. You know, he's saying like, "Oh, I got great cars, and I'm really rich." And it was like, "Oh, wow, great for you, Cole." Oh, and Angela was like eating this up, and I was not gonna have it. So I decided I had to act. So, you know, pre-K Ben was like brewing some amazing in here, and this coincided with April Fool's Day. Just a coincidence, but it was kind of funny. So I went home that day after seeing Angela and Cole talk, and I told my mom, "Hey mom, Cole and an 8th grader gave me a wedgie on top of the basketball hoop." Which, like, you know, is totally unreasonable. And she thought, you know, it's April Fool's, he's obviously joking. So, you know, I kept with the story. I was persistent. I was not going to let Cole get the last laugh on this one. So, you know, next day, I say the thing again, you know, Cole and the 8th grader wedgie, you know, the whole shtick. It's good stuff. And then my mom eventually started to believe it and was like, "Oh, okay, my kid's actually getting bullied." Like, the, you know, a responsible and active mom she was, she called the school and said, "Hey, my kid's getting bullied." So I was like, well, shit, this is going amazing, right? And I see Cole in the hallways, and he's talking with Angela. You think he's hot shit, like, "Hi, just wait, you're gonna get so much trouble because of me." Cole, you know, I don't see him for a little bit, and I get called into the office with my friend Mason, because you needed the buddy system. Mason has nothing to do with this story. I just wanted to shout out Mason really quick. So me and Mason, we went to the office. You know, we chatted a little bit. I told him the whole story about me getting the wedgie and whatnot. We later then went on to the 8th grade room, where this is where it really gets interesting. I had to point out the 8th grader that had like given me the wedgie, you know, which I had no problem doing. I just found the first empty seat I saw, and I was like, that kid. Like, because, you know, some kid's, I don't know, sick or something. So I pointed out that kid. They said, "Are you sure?" I was like, "Absolutely." And you think this is like where the story climaxes, where it's really about to hit hard. But, you know, after that, I got kicked out of the school. And it has nothing to do with this. It was because it was a private, like, Christian school or whatever, and I wasn't baptized, so they didn't, like, renew me for the next day, and I ended up at Wriggler, which is an elementary school. Shout out to Wriggler. And that's my story.
Thanks, Ben. I remember when Ben was only yay tall and a freshman in my class. Let's give it up for our next storyteller, who I've known since he was also a freshman in my wife's class, Ryan Moon.
Okay, so in 5th grade, I had a teacher who unfortunately got pneumonia halfway through the year, so we would end up having a substitute until the year was over. Now, one day we come to class, and the substitute's like, okay, class, we're going to dissect owl pellets. And if you don't know what those are, they're little like hairballs that owls cough up that they can't eat. It's like the bones and crap. So we're like, awesome, we're gonna do some science. And he's like, now, there's no lab agreement, so just buddy up, get a partner, and we'll start doing the lab. I'm like, awesome, no lab. And he's like, there's one rule. Don't play with the knives. I'm like, okay, I don't do that at home. I cannot play with knives. And I'm like, hey, Sage, my friend. And I'm like, want to be my partner? And he's like, yeah, sure, bro, I got you. And so we're partnering up, and we dissect our owl pellets, and it goes great. We get a full skeleton, and I'm like, dude, this is awesome, we get a full one, because there was a prize of Smarties, the best candy as a kid, and if you got a full skeleton, you get Smarties. So I was like, dude, we're great, we'll get Smarties, and I call over the teacher, I'm like, Sage, start cleaning up, and he goes and he throws away all like trash and stuff, put the gloves away, and I put the cap on the scalpel that we use, and Sage comes back over, and he sits down, and I'm like, hey bro, check it, and I motion the scalpel down into his leg, and it goes through the cap that I put on the scalpel into his leg. And he starts screaming. He's like, ah! And I'm like, oh shit. I actually hurt this man. My mom's gonna beat my ass if she finds out. So he's screaming like someone's like murdering him or something. I wonder why. And I take the scalpel out of his leg, and I go, bro, you need to shut up. Now, in my mind, I'm just like, dude, be quiet, you're gonna get me in trouble. But he's like, dude, my best friend's about to kill me right now. So the sub comes over, and he's like, bro, what's wrong? Why are you screaming? And I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And my friend's like, I like pinched my finger on the desk. I'm like, awesome, my friend just lied for me. And then the sub's like, oh, okay, well, be quiet, you're distracting the class. And he goes back around, and I'm like, bro, thanks, you're the best. And he's like, yeah, man, I got you. And then I'm like, teacher, man, sub, we got a full skeleton and we're almost done. Can you like finish this so we can get our candy? And he's like, yeah, just let me get 5 minutes so the rest of the class can figure it out and like get their stuff done. And I'm like, cool, cool, cool. And then 5 minutes passes, and he comes back, and he's like, okay, so Ryan and Sage have a full skeleton, so they get the Smarties. And I'm like, awesome. And my friend's just grabbing his knee. I'm like, should I give him my Smarties? Nah, I worked for this. I deserve this. So I keep my candy, and he's like in pain or whatever. And I'm like, I kind of feel bad. But funny enough, that wouldn't be the last time I stabbed him that year. Not even that week. Later that week, I stabbed him with a pencil in the leg, the other leg, almost in the same spot. And then at the end of the year, I stabbed him with a pencil in the arm. And my mom never found out until last weekend when I told her that I stabbed one of my best friends in the leg with a knife. And she was like, what the? Is my son a serial killer? I'm like, no, I'm not, I swear to God. So, yeah.
Don't forget rule number 1. Thank you, Ryan. Next up, we have Gabriella Johnson.
All right, so this is a story from when I was around 4 years old, and it was a nice sunny day outside, and my mom and I had just gotten back from the animal hospital, and I've grown up with many animals throughout my life, and this particular animal was my cat named Prancer. And so ever since I was really little, I always wanted to be a veterinarian. Like, I don't know what it was, I just loved it. But now I don't, but anyways, so I decided that since we had gotten home, my mom was doing her mom duties, whatever she wanted to do. She was on the phone, she loved talking to her friends. So I was like, all right, well, this is my perfect, time to do what I want to do. And I'm entertaining myself, so what's the problem? Mom was totally fine with it. So in this kitchen, there is the kitchen over here, and then there's the back door, sliding glass back door, and right to the right of it is there's this little counter. And this counter, I like to think, was like my perfect workstation. And since I loved playing doctor, I was like, all right, well, maybe my doctor that was working on my cat missed something, so maybe I should examine her again. So I went to my room and I grabbed my little doctor kit that I had. It was this really cute little plastic doctor kit that had the raddest stethoscope. And I was like, all right, so this was like the coolest thing because it actually worked. And I was like, all right. So I put it on and, I walked back into the kitchen and I'm thinking like, okay, how am I going to get this cat up on this counter? I mean, the counter's taller than me. I just don't see how it's going to work out. But I was like, all right, I'll figure it out. So I'm setting up my workstation, and in this station, there's like a junk drawer, and then there's cupboards up above and cupboards below. So your typical junk drawer has, nails, hammers, glue, gloves. I love latex gloves, and I don't know what it was, but there were some in there. So I'm thinking like, okay, I gotta start setting up my workstation. So this cat loves attention, and she's very vocal, loves to be pet and all of that stuff. And so she actually comes up to where over where I am, and little do I know, she jumps up on the counter, and I'm like, right on, I don't have to pick her up. So I start petting her, and she's very loud and vocal. And so I'm like, all right, well, what do doctors do? So I decided to grab my gloves out of the drawer, and I put them on. Mind you, I'm 4. Like, these gloves are way too big. You could shake my hand, and you could see the little space between each finger. And I'm like, all right, well, my gloves are on. I put my stethoscope on, and I decide to check her heartbeat. She sounds fine. So next, it's time to take her temperature. And I don't know if you guys have ever been to an animal hospital to see how they take temperature, but they take a thermometer and put something on it, and then they put it up their butt to take their temperature. So I'm like, all right, well, it's time to take her temperature. So I open the drawer, and I grab a nail and Elmer's glue. And I decide that I'm going to take her temperature. So as I'm untwisting the nozzle on the Elmer's glue, like it's the lubricant you put on a thermometer, I start pouring it across the nail, and I'm like, all right, I'm ready. So I'm petting my cat, and I decide to then lift her tail, pull her tail up, and right as I'm about to stick the nail up her rear end, my mom turns around. Her face is like, oh my God, my daughter, what are you doing? How are you gonna hurt this animal? She screams, Gabriella, what are you doing? And she grabs the nail and the cat and gets me away from that, and I understand why, obviously. I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, I really want to be a veterinarian, but, I guess the doctor didn't miss anything. Maybe I should just stop what I'm doing, and that's the end of my story.
Wow. Wow. So, that was good. So let's welcome to the stage our next storyteller, a young individual whose name is literally etched into the chair in the back of my room, Devon Shade.
Oh, I can't see none of y'all. Holy. Do I just start? All right. So my childhood life, I guess it wasn't the greatest, okay? My mom kind of had some substance issues. My dad, he was never to be found. And my grandparents also had some substance issues, but it wasn't as bad as my mom's, right? And since it wasn't as bad, I was always just more in love with my grandparents because, they're less weird, whatever. And around third grade, my grandfather died, and that was tragic for me and my grandma both. And I love my grandma to death. After that happened, our bond grew it was tight. It was a tight bond. Every day at lunch, I would try and go and see her. I would try and go and visit her as much as I can, and she would always feed me food. and then feed me more food after she feed me food, and then like before I went to sleep, she'd feed me some food. Like it was crazy. and I always try to see her as much as I can, and I always try. She was the only person in my life that pushed me to do good, and I always wanted to be like a little angel in front of her, because for one, she was religious and she was kind of crazy like that, and I always just tried to be as good as a kid as I can to her. And then around 7th grade, she moved over the Bend, and that's like in the middle of hillbilly town. I don't know. Some of y'all might know where it's at, and it sucked. But she was the only one keeping me doing good stuff, so I want to start partying a little bit, So around 8th grade is when I started getting crazy. And let me just tell y'all, this town that I was living in, it's called Sheridan. It's right outside of Salem and Grand Ronde. There's a reservation over there, tiny town. The population is like 2,000, and half of them are old people that you don't even know. But in that town, we decided to throw a party, and everyone did know everyone in the town. There's a lot of people living outside the town that you don't know, but inside the town, everyone knew everyone, literally. And this one time, me and my brother Brian, we decided to get some alcohol. We got about 2 gallons of hard liquor, not the weak stuff. It was hard liquor, and we broke into a community center, and I thought we were going to be cool. We get in there, we started drinking. There was only 8 of us with about 2 gallons of hard liquor. Yeah, we weren't thinking. And we started drinking, we started having fun, and it was crazy. We started breaking pool sticks over our heads, and my friend cut his leg all the way down here, and like we just poured more alcohol on it so it burns, and just to pick on him a little bit. And all of a sudden I hear my brother, he just screams, "Run." So I run out the back door. I like blinked and I was already out there. And I saw there was a gun right to my head right as I left the back door, and it was a cop. And like I said, everyone knew everyone. We knew both of the cops that came in. And luckily we didn't get charged with no MIPs. We didn't get no charges on us because we knew the cops. We knew the owners of the place. We repaid for everything that we broke. And there was I didn't get in no trouble, but the only trouble I did get in is my mom just decided randomly she wanted to be a mom and give some discipline, I guess, and she made me move to my grandma's house. So I acted like that was horrible, when really, that was great. I love my grandma to death. So I ended up moving over there, and my grandma has this new boyfriend. And this guy, let me just tell y'all something how weird he is. My grandma is 67. He's 43. Like that's a 20-some-year-old looking at a baby and saying, "Yeah, I want to date that baby." That's weird. That age gap is too much. And he's a bum. He is such a bum. This dude is an alcoholic, and he's mooching off of my grandma's money, and she gets government money. Like, sheesh. He's an alcoholic, and he got my grandma, which is the sweetest, most stereotypical grandma that feeds you all this food. She's now drinking, and she's now an alcoholic. And that was heartbreaking for me, right? So this one time, they started drinking up at like 7 o'clock in the morning, and they got drunk, and they kept hopping in the car and trying to drive places, so I got mad a little bit. I went and took the keys and went back inside. This guy freaks out about it, and this is what he does. He comes into the house, and "You don't know what you're doing. You're a kid." And I'm just looking at him. I'm like, "You want to drive?" No. We started fighting, all this stuff. Things are escalating. I just got sick of it. I was like, "Here, if you want to go kill yourself, go ahead. Leave my grandma out of it." He's just offended. I threw his ass out the house. He broke in through the window, came back in the house. My grandma tried to hold him back, and then he pushed my grandma, and she fell. And that, I freaked out from that. I did this one. My boxing coach would have saw the way I swung at him. I did this. I was right in the back of his head. And I knew I hit him hard. Because when he was on the ground, he spit some blood and some teeth out. And then when he was on the ground, I got really mad, and I hit him in the ribs and broke his whole rib cage. And after that, I moved out and started living on my own in Salem, and that's my story.
Thanks, Devon. Please clap up Augie Vasquez.
right. So my day just started with me just waking up out my bed, and I said, oh, yeah. And then I was like, what's the move, bro? So I started going through my phone, looking through all my contacts, just being like how I always be, just like, who's gonna respond? And I said, oh yeah, Jupiter always responds. So I hit him up, I was like, what's up? And he was like, nothing, just at my house. And I was like, all right, that sounds cool. And he was like, yeah, like my studio's open. And I was like, oh, bet. So I hit up my friend Christian, and he was like, all right, let's link there. So he comes from always his house by like Lloyd, and I come from my house, which is like down the street from Jupiter's. So I go over to his house, and we get there, and we're like, bro, we're kind of hungry, like me and Christian. And then, so we're finna go get some snacks. So we go to 7-Eleven, and they didn't got we were trying to get this one drink, Faygo, and they didn't have none. So I went to Plaid, and they didn't have it either. And we were walking out, we seen this old guy, and he's just sitting in this chair, he's like, and he's like, help me. And we're like, what'd you say? And he's like, I need help. And we were like, all right, I guess we'll come over help you. And we thought he's like one of the electric wheelchairs, you know? And he's like halfway up a curb, so we're thinking that he just needs help up the curb or something. So we're like, what do you need? And he's like, my wheelchair, Dad, I need a push home. And we're like, how far is your house? He's like, it's a block that way. And we're on 82nd right now, and he was saying it was on 83rd, and we're right by that Plaid. So we're like, all right, that's not that bad. And he was like, I'll pay you, I promise, I'll pay you. And we're like, all right, bro. So we start pushing him, and I swear, bro, his chair weighed 300 pounds. Me and Christian both were just the whole way. And then, so we're pushing him, and we see cops, and we're like, look at the good deed we're doing. Do you ever see look, how nice are we, bro? And then we get to the first block. We're like, so where's your house, bro? And he's like, I said to the white van. And keep in mind, the white van's 2 more blocks. And we're uphill. There's a hill now. And we're like, bro, I don't even think we could push this up a hill. And he's like, I'm paying you. I said I'll pay you. And we're like, all right, I guess. And so we start pushing him, and the hill, I swear, me and Christian put 100% effort, both of us, into pushing that chair. It was a workout I've never had before in my life. But when we get to the white van, we're like, all right, so where's your house now? And he's like, just the next block. We're like, bro, we've pushed you so far. We're so tired. Please don't make us do it anymore. And he's like, I said I'll pay you. And we're like, all right, I guess. So we keep pushing him, and then we see this old lady come out her house, and they were gardening and stuff. And she's like, "Oh, hey, Steve, you want some flowers? You want some vegetables?" And he's just like, "No, I'll get it later. I said I'll get it later." And we're like, does he not care that there's 2 random kids are just pushing her obvious friend? And I guess not. So we just keep pushing him, and we end up pushing him 8 blocks before we even turn off of the street. And we're like, bro, where is your house? Do you really live a mile away, Cuddy? And he's like, it's right there. We can see it from here. And another bigger hill. I swear it was a bigger hill. And literally, we were I'm gonna try to show you the breathing was happening. It was literally, it was too much, Cuddy. And then, so we get to the, this big house, and we're like, ooh, that's a big house. We're about to get paid. And so we're thinking, we're about to get $20 or something, something nice. He's been saying the whole time. And, we haven't said nothing rude, because he's just an old guy trying to get back to his house. And the whole time, he's been y'all young, stop complaining, y'all young. And it's bro, what? We're really pushing you. How are you finna talk to us like that? But, so we get to his house, and he's like, all right, we need to go in the back entrance, the wheelchair way. And we're like, all right. So we push him around the building, and when we come to the side, it literally is the steepest hill we've come to yet. It's it's about this long, the long as a stage, but we didn't even make it, bro. No, I'm just playing, we made it. No, but it was so hard, I didn't think we were gonna make it. But once we did, we get up, and we just see hella just other people that I swear just look just like him, just black guys in wheelchairs, and they're all look kind of crusty, and they're all just kind of And we're just like, all right, I guess, like, it's finna just push you through. So we just keep pushing him, and we turn inside, and then we're like, oh, all right. And then we get inside, and it's like 1,000,000 degrees in the place. So we're just like, whatever, like, we'll just drop you off here. And he's like, no, wait. My thing, oh shoot, my time's up, but I'm gonna keep telling the story. So, but we push him into place, and we're like, where is your room? And he's like, down there. So we push him to his room, and I'm gonna hurry up now, but we push him to his room, and we just see a bunch of pennies. We're like, what? Like, I'm not trying to get a bunch of pennies. He's like, wait, I need my charger. So we push him over to the other room, and then we're like, get his charger, push him back to his room, and the whole time, no nurses are asking us why we're there. Like, does this happen often? Like, what? I don't understand. But eventually we just like get him his charger and get him back to his room, and then just kind of go, and like no one really asked us why we're there, and that was it.
I'm here now. Everyone is dying to know, did he pay you? Did he pay you? That's abysmal. Well, someday. So someone will pay you for something that you didn't deserve. Okay, so we have one more storyteller before we invite them to the stage. I'm just gonna ask that we all should stay to hear this marvelous story and hear who wins. Afterwards, storytellers will invite you to the stage for like a group picture so we can look all cute together. It'll be fun. So, without further ado, our last storyteller, Anjali King, who is very, very thrilled to be last.
Thanks, Andrew. Hello. Hi. Thank you. Okay, so it was Christmas Eve 2015, I think. I was in 8th grade, and just a little background for everyone here, since you don't know the inner workings of my family. I thought that I was like my family's number one, probably, everyone's savior. When my parents got divorced when I was in 3rd grade, my mom would kind of just lay in bed sometimes, not really make us dinner, not tuck the kids into bed. So I decided I would, take that responsibility upon myself. And I would tuck the kids in, and I would make dinner for everyone. So I thought that I was really just holding my family together. I was the glue in the foundation. I was so proud of myself every day for everything that I did. It was Christmas Eve, as I said, and my mom, she had to go far out to this little Mexican market to make tamales, because we make tamales for dinner every Christmas, and my stepdad had the car, so she had to walk there, and she called the home phone that I picked up. She was like, hey, I'm not gonna make it in time to make those tamales, so if you could make the kids something, that'd be great. It's like, all right, what do I make? She was like pizza? I don't know. It's like, okay, cool. I can make pizza. I do everything for this family, so of course I can make pizza. So I, open up the oven, preheat it, slide the pizza in, because I don't want to have to wait, for it to finish heating up to that 350 degrees. So I put the pizza in, I went into the living room, I kind of just sat there. I was feeling pretty good, I was feeling pretty triumphant, because you know what? I saved Christmas Eve. I'm making dinner for all these hungry children at my house with no parents to attend them. So I just kind of sat in the living room, waited for the oven to preheat, and I think right as the pizza was maybe getting to halfway done, my stepdad comes back with the car, and he walks in, and immediately he's like, what's that? I'm like, what's what? What do you mean? He's like, it's kind of smoky in here? I'm like, no, I don't, is it? I don't know. I've just been sitting here, haven't really noticed it being smoky. And he walked into the kitchen, and I followed, and I guess, I don't know how I didn't really notice, but I guess there was smoke coming from the ovens. It was just rolling out, really, really taunting me. And my stepdad immediately started freaking out. He was literally just running around the house screaming like, "Oh my God, the smoke is toxic. I don't understand. How did this happen?" I'm like, "Dude, I don't know. Like, I'm sorry. I thought I was just making pizza." We opened up the kitchen windows and the doors, and we're just fanning the whole house out. Keep in mind, my stepdad did not actually take anything out of the oven this whole time. He just freaked out about the fact that there was smoke. So since I'm the person who saved my family, I opened up the oven and I took out the pan with the pizza, realized, oh wait, our dilemma this whole time, there was just a butter wrapper on the bottom of the pan. That was it. It was just a butter wrapper that was making the whole kitchen smoky, and my stepdad saw that. He was like, "Do you know what chemicals they put on those wrappers?" I was like, "Well, no, I don't." It's like, "It's toxic." Like, great, cool. And after that, I don't think my stepdad really trusted me to make dinner again for the family. And that's just kind of that. That's it.
All right. Thank you so much. So Math Genius, it's time to work your magic and determine who is in first, second, and third place. We are almost done here, folks. Thanks for your patience. Couple of announcements we want to make while they're tabulating. So the All School Story Slam is on Friday, February 23rd during fourth period. If you plan to attend, there are some field trip forms you could have your fourth period teacher sign. And the winner of that slam has the opportunity to represent Madison at the Interscholastic Truth Be Told Citywide Story Slam, kind of like Verslandia for poetry, but it's for stories. And that is on March 1st.
Oh, speaking of Verslandia, the Madison Poetry Slam is happening on Thursday, April 12th. Slams are all the rage this year, so once you're done going to the Story Slam, just come on over to the Poetry Slam. It's the preliminary competition for Verslandia, the all-city Poetry Slam. So, poems are way easier to write than stories, all y'all. So we'll see you there.
Math Genius, how are we doing? Counting, okay. So we do have one more announcement. Hopefully you heard it on the announcements today, but College Possible. It's kind of time for sophomores to think about joining College Possible for their junior and senior years. And so perhaps you've had College Possible folks come around to your classes this week, and they help you with things like ACT prep and FAFSA and applying to colleges and researching colleges. And they have fantastic mentors. And so they have applications, and if you go to B19, I think it's Miguel was here. Okay. You had to leave to go to College Possible. How funny. Yeah, so there's an informational meeting coming up. I believe that it's next Thursday, but you could stop by B19 to find out more. What's that? Yes, so can we have all storytellers up here for a group photo and then in a moment we'll announce first through third.
Okay, everyone get in tight. This is selfie.
Yeah, it's super great. Where's our...
Chill. I don't know.
Can we give them another round of applause as a group, please?
Like all the way?
Should we move the mic for Bree? She's kind of.
Bro, where is it taking the picture?
I don't know. Just like.
So who's taking it?
Is that all y'all?
Oh.
I don't know.
Okay, are we done?
Yeah, if your story was a pose, what would it look like?
Oh, God.
My story.
I'm just going to be sitting in the fetal position. Do it. Do it.
Bro,
Oh, gosh. Can we be, like, can people get in front, like, low down? Yeah, if there could be a row.
You're blocking the kids, bro.
Who is taking it? I have no idea.
Okay, we're gonna, let's go over to this side. It doesn't, okay. Oh, there go all the bags. I know, cool. Okay, we're ready to go. Let's see. So for third place, that looks like a 3 right there. Okay. How about let's give a round of applause for our third place finalist, Jason Anajovic.
Pronounce her name wrong. And in second place, we have Gabriella Johnson.
No nails by me. I feel like you should probably do first place because you did all the teaching for this. No? Okay.
All right, and in first place, we have Stella Hassan. Congratulations, you guys. Thanks to everybody.
Next year, I'll